Okay, welcome back to this course on After Effects. In this video, I'll teach you how to navigate the After Effects interface. And remember, in these videos, don't worry about remembering every little detail. At the end, we'll provide you an FAQ GIF library that you can quickly reference at any time that will answer little questions that arise during animation. So for now, I just want to show you the different panels. One of the great things about After Effects is that the interface is completely customizable. So you'll see right now you can drag all of these different windows around and create an optimized interface specific to your workflows. And as you get more experience, you'll start to have certain preferences for how you want this laid out. So if you go up here to Workspace, you'll see that Adobe has already created specific presets for these interfaces. So I'll click animation and you can kind of see how crazy this can get for people who are really serious about animation. I've created one called Screen Share, which is very simple with minimal panels because that's really all you need for living logos. You don't use much. So the first panel I'll show you is over here called Project, and the Project panel is where all of your layers live. So first thing you'll want to do is import a layer into the project panel, and you can do that a couple different ways. The first way is by going up to File, Import, File, which you can also click the hotkey Command I, and then navigating to your assets. I already have an assets folder here with the Elements of Motion logo inside, so I'll just click that, and you'll see that now the logo has appeared inside the project window. So that's the first way. I'll delete that and show you the next way. The next way, which is usually easier, is by finding your assets in the Finder window and then simply dragging and dropping. Now, in order to work on this individual layer and move it down to the timeline panel, you'll need to create a composition. And you can also do this a couple different ways. First is by simply dragging and dropping. And this is great. When you drag and drop though, it creates this composition with the settings of the image. So you'll see that this image has dimensions of 1000 by 1000. So when I drag this layer into the timeline panel, it automatically created a composition that matched those settings. So 1000 by 1000, which is great if you have the pre-formatted document. If not, then sometimes you'll want to tweak the settings of the composition. So I'll delete this and show you how to tweak the individual settings. So the next way to create a new composition is by going up to Composition, New Composition. And if you do it this way, you have much more control. So first you can do the composition name. So I'll name this logo. And here you can see you can change the individual settings. So I do like 1000 by 1000. So I will leave that. Frame rate 30 is good. Start time, duration 10 seconds, and background color white. I like it. So I'll click OK. And now you can see that it created a new composition named logo, but now there's nothing inside. So to get the layer inside, same thing, you'll simply drag it down. And now we have this composition with the layer inside, which you can view in the composition window, which is here. Now, sometimes if you accidentally double click the layer and your composition window changes, don't worry, it just simply opened a new panel to specifically view this individual layer. So if you click on the composition, you can get back there. So I'll just exit out of this. Sometimes if it gets too crazy, remember, you can always go back to reset workspace and it will go back to its original layout. The next panel I'll show you is the toolbar up here, which has a lot of different tools that you don't need to know right now. The one that you use most of the time is the selection tool, and we'll go through these in future videos. And then the last thing I want to show you about the interface that's specific to living logos is Adobe Illustrator files. So with this logo that I imported and this composition I created, it's just the individual PNG file. It's one layer. So I'm actually, to keep this clean, there's another icon down here in the project window that looks like a folder and says create new folder. So I'm going to do that and call this PNG. And I'm just going to shift click these and drag them into this folder. So now we have this clean folder for this first example I did. Now I'm going to go back to the Finder window, or you can do Command I to import the file. And you'll see here that next to the PNG, I have a .ai file. And the .ai file is an Adobe Illustrator file. And Adobe Illustrator breaks the logo into separate layers. You'll see that each one of these elements is a separate layer over here, which is great because in After Effects, it's a layer-based program. So when I drag the AI file into After Effects, first of all, you'll see this pop-up window. When working on living logos, you'll always want to do composition, layer size. And again, don't worry about the specific settings. We have animated GIFs in the GIF library that you can reference at any time to answer these simple questions. But for now, composition, layer size, okay. And you'll see that once again, it created a composition of 1000 by 1000 because that was the document size. And it created a folder with all of the individual layers. So if I double click this composition that it created, the layers are already inside. So if you have the AI file and the dimensions match the dimensions that you want the animation to be, then the easiest way to begin animating is by simply dragging the Illustrator file into After Effects. So to keep it clean, once again, I'll shift click both of these and create a new one called .ai. So now just to compare here, we have two compositions down here. We have the logo, which is the individual layer. And now we have the one that it automatically created called Elements of Motion Logo, which it titled based on the name of the file. And in this one, we have access to all of the individual layers. And you'll see, if you move these around, you can already see how you can begin animating these. And these will eventually turn into pop, which is scale. This will turn into orbit, which is rotation, and this will turn into flip, which introduces 3D. So that is the basics of the After Effects interface. To quickly review, up here you have your workspace menu, which if things get a little too crazy, you can always go back to your presets. You have the project window, this is where your files live. You have the timeline panel. And in order to work on a timeline panel, you need a composition, which you can create by either dragging in a file if it is already formatted to the dimensions you want, or by going up to composition, new composition, where you can tweak the individual settings of the composition. And then finally, you have the composition window, which is where you view your individual compositions. And then of course, the tool layer, which we'll get into in future videos. Okay, see you in the next video.